Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
I'm Spencer.
I'm Daniel.
And this is the Board Game Rundown. And today we're going to do a preview of Moneymaker. So in this game, basically what we're doing is we're banks, and yeah, we are making money. We're spending credit.
Wait, let's review those scores again. Yeah, we might have to change the name of that title.
Right? Different title for how good you are at the game. But essentially, what's going to happen in Moneymaker is that we're all playing banks, and we're sort of investing in the city here. And you've got 4 action cards. The first one is auction, and it's going to allow you to return cards. So by auctioning, you're going to bid. You're going to basically start an auction on one of these buildings, and the market value is set by whatever the market value is, whether for goods and services, right? So if it's the hammer over here, the warehouse costs 3 times whatever the current market value is. So right now it'd just be 1. So the minimum bid would be 3. And you can bid as much as you want. Which is crazy about this game.
Yeah.
Well, up to 650.
Yeah, up to 650. That's how many chips you got.
Yeah, Dan, how many? How much
It was somewhere around there. I don't remember.
Literally, everybody could bid. You reveal the bid. If you are the one who played the card and you do not win the bid, you do have the choice to pay 5 more than the winning bid and take that territory or that investment card.
Right
the
out from
player that you are taking that property from does take the extra 5 of your credit, and they add it to their supply so that they can spend that credit later on, which is really a fun
Spending
twist.
other people's money.
Yeah. And then after you do that, you'd get to pick up any of your played cards. So in the first round, you would if you only had 1 card out, you would put that card back up, pick it up. The second thing you can do, number 2, is buy and produce. So you can buy up to 4 credits out of the market for 4 products, on credit at half the total market price.
Yeah, you want to total that up and then divide.
Yeah, you had to add them up and then.
Yeah.
You add it up, you divide it, and then the money you spend goes in whatever credit ring you are in. And so that's credit on the board. Super important because you're going to pay that
and
back
then
later.
the assets you have will also produce with that.
Yes, and then the assets you have will produce goods based on the cards you have.
Yep. And the icons on the bottom.
All those things. Then there's selling products. You may sell products on the market for coin money. If there are 2 or more players that have played this card, you're going to bid on turn order.
Because it makes a difference.
And then the person who bid the lowest gets the top player's bid in credits. So
it's a very interesting mechanic.
I bid 10 to be the first one, and I got 34 credits out of it. It was worth the money.
Yeah. Yeah, your goods are worth way more when you sell first.
Yeah, because you want to sell first. Because as you
fill
sell,
that market back up.
You're filling the market back up. And this was, a thing that we saw. We never got the market down low enough.
Right.
Probably more of a function of us, being newer at the game, and then also depending on some of the cards
And the timing of those cards coming out.
A lot of bank runs.
A lot of bank runs.
We pushed a bank run. That second bank run was out of nowhere.
Yeah, the event hit us, and it kind of messed everybody
the
up.
event hit us.
And then the other thing you can do is you can do a margin call. So that's going to allow you to repay your debts on the board, and then if you pay and you cross a threshold, so early on, so if you paid more than 20 back, you pull that debt off the board. And you can advance, and that's going to allow you to place your any of your future debt chits in a higher ring, which is going to be important because it's going to allow you to diversify. And the other thing you can do is you can move that confidence tracker either forwards or backwards. Moving it backwards, you're going to be staving off a bank run. Moving it forwards, you're going to be pushing the market closer to a bank run. And all of this stuff is important because where you place your credits and where they are, when there is a run on the bank, you are going to, basically the die is going to get rolled, and it's going to tell you what quadrant there is a run on in the banks. So this outer ring, all of the credit is always up for grabs. And then it's basically 50-50 and then divided into thirds. It gets smaller and smaller so you can diversify more and more.
Your chances of having to pay back are fewer.
Yeah, the better your credit is, the less they come after you.
Yeah,
basically.
But I like that you can choose to either split your debt between 2 goods, or you can do what he did and consolidate and hope that they don't roll that.
Whatever you call that.
It's called giving up.
It is. He won that bid, though.
Yeah, he won the bid and he didn't have to pay that.
I was very surprised.
Yeah.
And then basically in the version we played, after 3 bank runs, that ended the game. And so then you just tally everything up. You're going to tally up. I'll just go down here. Your gold in your vault. You're going to tally up your investments. Their value is based on the market value. So what you would have had to buy them for. You're going to tally up the goods you have. Other banks' credit. So if I have Spencer or Dan or Bob's credit in my vault as well, I'd get points for that. And then you're going to get points for depending on what your credit rating is. And then you're going to subtract the credit you have remaining on the board, the credit that other players are holding, and then you get your final score. So it seems like a lot, and it takes a minute to learn, but once we figured out how to play the game, it was very straightforward, and I felt like the turns moved along really quick.
Yeah.
Now, bank runs can get a little hinky, and they do slow the game down a little bit because you got to figure out who's solvent, who's not.
Yeah.
So if there's a run on the bank, we roll the die, and then everybody's got to pay off their debt on this sector where they have
Where that
debt,
icon is at.
Where that icon is, right? And once you have paid that debt, you are solvent. If you are solvent, you're going to get to remove that debt. You can, I believe, even promote.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is now other people can use your credit because your credit is
good.
So if Dan is holding 50 of my credit, he can spend that to pay off his own debts and then also stay solvent, right? And pull that credit off the board. But now in a future turn, I've got a lot of credit hanging out on the board, which we did see happen, right? It was going back and forth.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're gonna auction off potentially properties and goods to help you get solvent. And if you can't, your credit rating is gonna slide down 1. You're gonna pay a penalty based up to what you can't pay based also on your credit rating. So usually, like early on, it's like a max of 10. I don't think any of us got high enough that we paid more than a max of 10. And that's basically the game. There's event cards that are going to come up, trigger different things. They might move stuff back. They might give people opportunity to get money. They're going to pull goods out of the market, add them to the supply. I guess it's important to note when one of the investment card stacks runs out, that's going to cause a bank run. If a supply ever runs out, that's going to cause a bank run. Or if confidence ever moves all the way down, that will also cause a bank run. So in our game, we did have this event where we triggered a bank run, and then we had another thing where it was like if somebody couldn't pay.
No,
we ran out of a pile.
Keep out the last one in a pile, which triggered another bank run
run.
right away.
Yeah,
It was
back
bank
to
run,
back.
bank run.
We had 2 bank runs
And it
right
hurt.
in a row.
That hurt.
Well, the thing that caused it right in a row was
The confidence went all the way down, right?
it was an event that caused it to go all the way down, and then if someone couldn't pay, move the thing down 1, which then immediately caused another one.
Oh yeah, so the
Is
stack
what
ran
happened.
out. We were close to low confidence in the bank, so we had 2 bank runs back to back, which really hurt.
Devastating.
But again, I feel like that's an anomaly. But
It's
you
more
know,
of a function of how we play. Like,
It also
yeah.
can happen.
yeah.
totally can happen.
So-
Totally can happen. But anyways, we're not going to talk too much about like components and stuff like that because this is a prototype
Yep.
that was sent to us. But we'll talk about like how we felt about the functionality of the game, what's unique, what do we like. Bobby, why don't you get us started?
Well, first thing I'll say was when you said we're gonna play Moneymaker, I would thought something completely different. You know, people talk about Moneymaker.
Oh boy,
Shake
calm down.
Moneymaker, you know?
Jeez.
Which is why you lost.
That's
Why
why I
you
lost.
finished
That's right.
negative score.
Yeah, only 2 of us had a positive score.
Excuse me. 1 second. As I die here.
Right.
I guess we didn't bring Mike.
Because you can't pay
We
your
didn't
debts.
bring Mike, so I gotta do all the coughing.
Yeah. Could you cough louder, please?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh my god.
Sorry about that.
I don't think it's better for anybody.
But no, I thought it was super interesting. I would like to see a little bit more of the
Market
market
manipulation?
manipulation, going on. A lot of times it seemed
definitely.
like it was full because like I would buy a bunch of goods and make stuff, then I was trying to sell it right back, but then it was constantly like
Everybody was kind
Always
of
full.
doing it at the same time.
right. But I did find it super interesting. I like how you can, as you start to pay your credit back and you improve your credit score, you start to like diversify a little bit. So then you may not have to pay back as much like right away. So you can try to take more risks with your credit and whatnot. I love the fact that you can pay things off and buy things with other people's credit.
Oh, it's hilarious.
I so
Right.
wanted to like just kind of keep stockpiling somebody's credit behind my screen and have them not realize how much of their credit I actually had until more toward the end and be like, oh yeah, and by the way, remember that 50? drop it all. And it's about like, no.
But then they're like, guess what? I'm insolvent.
Which is why I used a bunch of Dan's credit to pay before a bank run would happen because he was still solvent.
Yeah, hurry up and use Dan's credit while it's still good.
That's exactly what I did.
But that was super interesting, and I think there's some really good things going on in this game, and a little bit of clarification of the rule, but it's still prototype, so everything's still kind of being ironed out there, so no big complaints on it. But I really do wish Mike was here because I feel like he would have loved this game, and like I say, I found it super interesting with the hidden bidding and the grabbing the locations and whatnot, and doing the production, but. Yeah, it was enjoyable. It was like a lot of math, right? You're gonna see that. This is 5 times the function of this. You're thinking like calculus and whatnot, but it just basically means like, just 5 times whatever it should cost.
Yeah.
It's just once you learn that arithmetic, it's pretty easy to figure out.
Yeah, it got like a lot of games. Once you sort of understand the iconography and the function of it, it's like boom, boom, boom.
I mean, the F is even the same one they use when they're using math.
That's what I'm saying. It's literally the function of. Yeah.
A function of F
of
food.
Of hammers, yeah. Well, and it's goods and services, right? So the service industry, you get the fork and the knife, and then the goods over there, you get the hammer for making stuff.
Spencer.
Oh yeah, this was it was fun. It was very interesting. I think the thing I disliked, and it's not a big thing, it's a little thing, is just being able to have those runs come so suddenly and without warning.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to be able to like at least finish the round before the run actually happened or something like that. But I mean, that's the game, and when you play the game a second time, you'd be a little bit more prepared for it.
That's the
We also played the short version.
We did play the short version, and I very much liked that I could just pay off 10. Oh, I owed 50. I could just pay off 10 to come up and then split it, so that
you might have to pay all
I don't
that
have to pay it all off. Yeah, and I like that a lot. But one thing I really liked is actually on the back of the rule book, they have these alternate advanced rules.
Yeah.
And some of them look really good and might get rid of any problems I've ever had with the game. One of them lets you advance more than one ring if you pay off enough.
Right. If you're paying off 30, you can move up to 10 and the 20, as opposed to just the 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at one round, we were all insolvent at the same time. This has an option for how to
some
deal with
forgiveness.
that. Yeah. A Jubilee year.
Yeah.
Let's
just
I would
forgive
say.
most of that, shall we, guys?
So I would say, after the first game, just go to the back and pick a couple of these things and see.
Yeah. Once you've ironed out the rules for yourselves, try some of the advanced rules.
They almost need to have that Jubilee
as a basic rule.
As a basic rule, because that way when you're learning the game, you're learning the game, if everybody is like, oh no, we're all like totally screwed,
you'd be like, aha, hold on.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the option.
But anyways,
the hostile takeover one
That's
is
mean.
rude.
Yeah.
Instead of bidding on one of the cards in the lineup, you can bid on someone else's card.
That makes a big difference. Do we know do the goods have to go on there? Do you get the goods?
That's a good question.
That wasn't super clear in the
we
rule
didn't
book.
play that.
Right. Yeah.
That's a
Like
good
the
question.
picture showed them putting the goods in the card, so we were kind of doing
So
that.
I get all those goods too?
Yeah, that's an interesting
extra
question. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good stuff going for this game. I wouldn't mind playing this again.
Daniel.
Hi. Listen, if you guys have been watching our channel for a bit, just get out of the way. This is the most not Dan game in the world. I don't like market manipulation. I don't like stock markets. I don't like bank credits. I don't like any of that stuff. It's boring. It's math. This is really well done. There is a game here that when you are seeing the mechanics come together, you can see what the designer was going for, and it works really well. And as someone who is purposely ignorant to some of these systems in here, I still understand what's going on. I still know the terms, and it does make some of the rule sets intuitive to be like, yeah, okay, of course that's how that would work, because that's how that would work in real life, right? There are multiple jokes going on where it's just like, well, that's not fair. When that happens to something, it's just like, yeah, exactly. And so you're gonna get that here. I have my minor nitpicks. I wish the market had went faster. Fluctuated more.
Yeah.
Something that would have helped our game is literally just if the market started on like tier 3 or 4 or something like that.
Or if when you sell back, it doesn't go back to the market.
That was just a specific thing for us, though. I'm not saying that'll make every game of this better. It's just that I think that would have improved our experience of getting that jump start on the market.
We never got the market lower than 3, right?
Yeah, we
Three
hit
was it.
3.
We
never
three,
even emptied
halfway
3.
down through 3,
Yeah.
and then we filled it back up.
And that just, it doesn't feel super fulfilling there, but there's all the rules that are involved and everything, so we might have been doing something small wrong, and also maybe there's a jumpstart thing. I don't know. The other thing is only because I know who this game is for, right? This game is for Mike.
Yeah.
Who's not here?
The second we started playing this, I was like, I am so upset that Mike's not here because this is going to be like one of his favorite games. Except for the things that this game is for someone who really likes that weird, thinky, economic, thinking 20 steps ahead on where the market's going to go and everything like this. And so the fact of when you're having to pay back your credits as a die roll, I think is going to throw some people off. So I just wanted to say that the fact that there's so much going on here, and then it's just like, you got a 50-50 chance on if they come after you, I can see that upsetting people. But those are kind of my two nitpicks going into this, and just saying that I thought everything else worked really well. It's difficult. I mean, if you start getting in debt, you can have a really hard time digging yourself out of that, or again, the goods are produced based on a die. So if you just so happen to have a windmill that's not creating any goods for you, then you can really start seeing your stuff tanking. And so they do take, though, again, this is another thing for Mike too. They take the card system that you see a lot nowadays from I think Puerto Rico, right, did it, or Ankh was the more modern one I was going to say, where you're playing those cards one at a time, and then when you play a certain card, you get all your cards back. That is one of Mike's favorite mechanisms. So seeing that in this kind of game too, I could see him really loving that.
I'm not so certain I like that because it means I am limited on if I buy and sell, because I then have to do this auction, which puts us down closer to taking out a pile.
That helps to keep
It's a timer on the game.
It would be an
It is a timer, but it
interesting-
slows down what I can do.
It would be an interesting conversation to have with the designer, because clearly the point of the game is the auctioning then. You have to do your auctioning if you want to buy. You have to do your auctioning if you want to sell. So it would be interesting to have a conversation with them about why the auctioning was so important, and if it is just a game timer, or how that works into the actual real place marketplace and stuff like that. But yeah, I think this came together really well. Owning the what's the word they use for it?
Investment cards?
Investments. Owning the investments, making your goods on it and services on it and everything. Selling those when the market is good. And honestly, my favorite part was just the map segmented board thing is a really good idea for something like this. Your debt is crap. Well, they're gonna keep coming after you and making sure you're paying this off. The better your debt goes, not only do they come after you less, die roll dependent, but also you are splitting your investments between all these different things and saying like, okay, well, now that they trust me all the way up here, I can have all my stuff split like this. So then if my debt does come up, I'm only having to pay off a little bit to show them that I can, but I'm not having to pay off all of my stuff.
Right.
This map is fantastic. It works really well. Seeing all the pieces on there looks good, and you can look at it and easily understand where everyone is, how much debt they owe, and when it's going to come up.
Yeah, I also like how you have to play into the system to get further. I have to get 10 credit out here, so I got to start actually spending it.
spend the credit.
Yeah.
And the events get better for you
The more credit,
credit is out there. So that
Exactly.
pushes it too. Yeah, just a lot of really good stuff here for a game that I just am not interested in at all. Good stuff. I liked what I did here, and then at the end,
Well,
you just gotta go all in
So
sometimes.
at the end, there was a bid for property, which was essentially going to end the game because it was going to force the final bank run. Dan knew he was toast.
Yeah.
And so, to be hilarious, bid all of his
All
credits.
of them, yeah.
And it was hilarious.
Yeah. Still kind
I
of
was holding my secret bid.
It's still pouring out the sides.
you guys ready?
No, this game was really cool, and for a lot of reasons, like what everybody else said. I really appreciated how much all of the mechanics actually make sense and actually feels like real banking. In a kind of crazy way, this game should almost be taught in schools so that people
He
understand
said that while playing.
We
how
did.
economics.
Yeah.
It's just missing
work.
futures trading, and then you
Right.
got it.
That's expansion. You got to go in the future though to do it. But no, the just the way that all of this works, and yes, you are spending money you do not have, and that you have to pay back.
You start with $680 or something.
Of credits.
Of which 15 you actually own in your bank account, and
right.
everything
20
else
or
is
something
just
like that, yeah.
credit in the bank, and you're just like, yeah, I'll just.
Well,
I
so
love
early
it.
on, we
We're
were bidding
conservative, yeah.
bidding very low
And using
on
my
properties.
money instead? No, don't do that.
Yeah, using our property, bidding real low, and then all of a sudden, it never got out of control because I think if the game had gone a little if the game had
Last
gone
move
a little
aside.
longer, because towards the end the properties were
We're
going for
bidding
20,
20 and 30,
25,
yeah.
and 30. Where early on, like there wasn't a bid over 10.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, speaking of, most of the properties have a low minimum bid of like 5 and 6 and
Typically,
stuff.
because
some
are
because
free.
what I'm
Market
saying
dictates.
is, saying that we're bidding
not
30 and
two.
stuff shows you where the market is and everything.
Right.
So
Right. And yeah, there's just some really like super cool, like the way that this works, and you're just seeing it and you're like, okay. So, and also you can, like, this game will play differently depending on the play style of the people around you. So I was basically like I won, but it's not like I scored a bunch of points, but what I was doing was trying to get solvent very quickly while I saw everybody else was heavier invested than I was. And I was in a position where I could pay off all my stuff. And now I may not
end
get
the game.
yeah, and end the game. I may not have gotten a ton of points, but my negatives, I had 0 negative
Right.
points, right? Which is, so like Dan or not Dan, Bob and Spencer had a bunch of points on the table, but they had enough negative points that I was still able to come in the. So you can game the game a little bit, and I'm not like the biggest planner, like in like, oh, I want to think out like 7 turns, but it was like I felt like there were rounds where I was up, there were rounds where I was down, and I think everybody kind of had that a little bit, and I just sort of the timing and some dumb luck, at the same time, but also, hopefully some smart moves got me to where I needed to be in a position to win the game.
yeah, the game is again based off the banking system and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and so it is that analogy of like, you don't have to be the fastest man alive during the zombie apocalypse. You just have to be faster than the person next to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how
Exactly.
you won. You just said,
Exactly.
I am not doing well, but I'm doing better than all of them.
At the moment, at this moment.
Yeah, at
this
this
moment.
moment. And so I'm going to call it now.
Right. And that's,
Yeah.
and that's the thing, is that that these guys were really poised for some decent turns.
Comebacks.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
It-
yes.
I
there been
just
few
got a
more
ton of
rounds.
goods. I was about to sell a bunch of stuff back, and yeah, it was-
And I agree, like, maybe we were doing something wrong, but I feel like these markets need to clear out faster.
Yeah.
Because of what we were doing in the game. There were not, like, the event cards were doing us favors because they were pulling things out of here and putting them over here.
which actually made things worth more money.
Right, but then immediately everybody then goes to sell.
Yeah, we keep getting in predicaments that you can literally see right now. Well, I guess you can't in the top down, but you might see from the front angle there. Bob has a bunch of goods and
Bunch of
services
goods
on
right
his
here.
cards right here, and there's no reason for him to sell them right
Yeah, they
now.
all sell for one.
So what might happen then is he just has to wait for other people to kind of slowly, patiently build their stuff up, and then he has to hurry up and sell when he gets a chance, and now the market's full again, so now we don't want to sell. And so you just get this really slow market thing going on there that we weren't exactly able to figure out yet.
Yeah, and I like, the game didn't run long enough for this to play out
Exactly.
like maybe we felt like it should, which is essentially what you were saying.
And I will say though, on that topic, because I wanted to get this out again, we played the short version of the game, which was 3 bank runs, and I thought it felt like a good length to a game.
Yeah,
It did.
I
It,
did.
it might not be long enough to see some certain mechanics really get their due, but it felt long enough for a game. I felt like I accomplished stuff. I felt like I was winning and then losing and then winning. Like I felt like at the end, I felt like I played a full game at the end of the
Yes.
3. So
Yes.
no complaints there.
Right. I mean, and I get how it makes sense to where, okay, it's the market. So as you buy goods, you buy them from the market. Then when you produce them, it comes from the supply because you're introducing new product into
Right.
the market, and it makes sense like that. But I almost feel like almost mechanically, would it make more sense to when I produce to take them from the market too, just to try to make that
Just to
market
drain it.
fluctuate
Right.
more? Yeah.
Right.
But
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, because
just
that
a thought.
happens. It's
Stock trading.
I've seen that in other games, right, where you're just
Yeah.
taking from the market
You,
just to.
you choose,
Sure.
yeah, if you could choose which one you pulled it from.
Right.
Because if you run out
Or
of
which one
supply
you sell
pile,
to.
because if you run out of supply pile,
that's a bank run.
you're doing a bank run. So you
Right.
could be, it's sort of like, running a deck down here, right? Running one of these piles out was kind of a similar effect. Like,
Right.
well, let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just tons of really interesting stuff.
Yeah, a lot of cool things going on.
Again, I know, like, not Dan's style of game, but we were laughing our
We were
butts off,
laughing like crazy.
as we were playing. And there was so many, I think all of us had so many, like, kind of aha moments where it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
like,
no, for sure. I
that's what
really
it's
did like the, again, you said it slows down the game slightly, but I really did like the whole when you go into
Insolvent.
debt, when you're not
Yeah.
insolvent. And you're having to slowly auction off all all your stuff until you get just enough to pay off all your stuff. Like, I really like that system. Being like, okay, I'm going to put my windmill up for auction.
You can sell your credit.
Yeah, exactly.
You can sell your
Everyone else-
credit.
obviously, you want to do that later, but but like, and then everyone else can say what they would pay for the windmill, and I can say like, nah, that's not good enough. I'm going to keep my windmill, but now I'll auction off this, and seeing that go, yes, it slows the game down, but also everyone is invested in what's going on at that moment.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
It's still really interesting.
Yeah.
It's not like,
Right.
well, it grinds it to a halt. Like,
Right.
I'm just
It's just
going to wait.
something completely different that's happening, but
Yes.
everybody is still involved in doing something.
And really, again, it's only a couple of minutes. So it's
Yeah.
not like.
And you get to sell each item 3 times. So you might start selling this thing, it doesn't go. You do other things to sell, which may make it more interesting.
Right. Yeah, no, I like it.
So very cool, very cool. Lots of promise here in this game.
Yeah.
Promise debt, that is. Heyo. But man, yeah, this was pretty fun. Lots of really interesting mechanics. Like Dan said, the board's really cool. I love that aspect of it because that also is that again another mechanic that Dan doesn't like, but Mike and I like a lot is sort of that push your luck, where you're like, well, I'm gonna just hope that this isn't what's rolled, right? And so you have some mitigation there because you're placing.
Well, and the pushing my luck is why I didn't have to pay back $680.
100%. Amazing.
Speaking of, people tend to care about this. So, Bob, can you say the highest and lowest scores really quick? People tend to care about.
So the highest score was Tim at 34.
Hello.
Yeah, so that might be an average low scoring
Maybe.
game. We don't know.
Who knows? Dan had the lowest score
Well, you
with
did say
that's
that.
a. Oh, sorry.
Let's
That
do
was
it.
somebody
What's the second lowest score?
had a negative 623.
Right.
Yeah, Bob had
I
negative
had
46.
negative 46, and I was kind of playing.
And that's
through it.
probably
Whatever, you were
closer
playing.
to
I
what
was, but I was literally like my next turn gonna
that's
make
probably
money.
closer to what a real last place
Spread.
score
So you
could
can
be.
see though, like a plus 30 to a negative 40 is kind of
70
this.
point
Yeah.
spread.
But there's not too many
Interesting
games
spread.
where you could potentially win and still have negative numbers.
It's true.
Right. But and the other thing though is that if a turn later this changes.
Yeah.
This number
Oh, yeah.
changes drastically.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Oh
One more
my
turn.
gosh, yes.
I'm probably in the positive, or at least closer.
Yeah.
But I will say, and we don't usually. I usually don't say much about it because it's prototype. But they did choose red and green for their 2 colors here.
Right.
Oh, right.
It is a very red, and it's kind of a lighter green. I am able to delineate them. I'm hoping maybe they choose different colors, but
Yeah.
they did also include fork knife for your
Yeah.
services, and then the hammer for your goods, which definitely does help on here too.
Yeah.
Why
Bob,
they
as-
choose those two?
As you can tell by now, I'm sure Bob is colorblind, so
Yeah.
we tend to bring these up in our videos.
Mm-hmm.
I highly doubt these are the final 2 colors, but
Correct.
we will let them know because that's
Yep.
what we do.
That's what we do. All right, anybody else have any parting thoughts on Moneymaker before we sign off?
Man, it is.
Oh man. Yeah, I think you played wrong.
Yeah.
Super fun. Really glad we got to look at this. This was a really neat economic game. And again, it plays so fast. I think.
Yeah,
that
that was pretty good.
It felt
didn't-
fast.
And it
didn't
grows on you.
overstay. Didn't overstay its welcome.
In the beginning,
couple
I was
stops for rules, but that was it.
Yeah.
I was a little wishy-washy in the beginning, but then it grew on me, and I was like, okay, no, I get it.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
a ding moment.
Yeah, it clicked. So anyway, I feel like we all pretty much recommend this game for the most part.
Yeah.
If this
really
is your
recommend it.
jam, like a Mike,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna
I would
send this
totally-
link
yeah.
to Mike.
Yeah,
for sure.
Mike's gonna lose his
Mike
mind.
will like this
when he
game
hears
for
about
sure.
this game. He's gonna love it.
And then I will definitely play Mike's copy.
All right, guys. If you found this video helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, doing all those things. We do have a Patreon if you'd like to support the show financially. And if that's not your bag, just give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment. What's your favorite banking game? I don't know.
Patreon's kind of like our moneymaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're not negative on it. So
Oh
that's
my
all
God.
yeah.
Dan's a negative 600.
Guys, I think we should put me in control of the.
We'll talk. All right, guys. For the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
Bob.
Spencer.
I'm in debt.
See you next
Yes.
And you can say the title's only 3 words.